Hello, it's Sylvia. I'm going to do an experiment using different types of inks, yeah? As you see here, we have Chinese inks, we have the watercolor inks, and the acrylic inks, yeah? I'm starting with the Chinese ones. The Chinese inks, you can find them in these kind of boxes here, okay? I'll be using this green color and just to see how it looks like and see what we can do with them. Yeah, I'm using just a normal brush, yeah, as the ones that we normally use for, I don't know, acrylics. Yeah, it has like synthetic hair, so I can use it for everything really, and I don't mind. It's a cheap one. So the ink, the Chinese ink, it looks like this. As you see, it's very bright. I'm going to do different patterns. It is probably stronger than the watercolors, yeah. It's quite transparent, so I can do some layers, and as you can see, the thick one remains there. Okay. What happens if I add water? So I'm going to do my wash. This is just the ink as it comes from the recipient. I'm going to do another one because one, I want to let it dry, and the other one, before it dries, I'm going to add water. Yeah, so this is still wet. Now I come with some water and let's see what happens. So you see, I can dilute and get more transparent effects. Okay, but the first wash, or the first stroke that I did here in the middle, remains. Yeah, I'm adding water, but it's still remaining there. I'm going to let dry this one a bit more, and then later I'm going to add some water. At the same time it's drying, I'm going to start with the next experiment, which is a wash of watercolor. Yeah, so something like this. This is just my normal watercolor, yeah, the ones that I'll be using. I've been using all these wicks. So something like this, wet on dry. And I'm going to let it dry. I think this one is dry, so I'm going to add the clean water and see if I can blend it or not. As you see, it blends a bit, but not too much. Yeah, do you see that halo around? Okay. So now we know that if we paint with Chinese ink and we let it dry, we are not going to be able to rub it out or to blend it with other color. Okay, it has to be wet, but it's still, you know, they look more or less the same. So I think more or less the watercolor wash is dry, so now I'm going to put some ink, Chinese ink, over it and see what happens. So as you see, it works more or less in the same way as the watercolors, but probably it's a bit stronger than the watercolors, yeah? So now I'm going to use these watercolor inks. As you see, it's the same brand, Daler and Rooney. Let's see how it works. I don't have green, so I'll be using the blue color, but so as you see, they are like stronger than watercolors, but if you add water on it, you can dilute it and then get these transparent effects or wash, yeah? Okay. What about if I mix two colors? So I'm going to be mixing the blue and the yellow. Going to put some yellow here and a bit of blue, a bit less. So the blues is stronger. So can we mix them? Let's see. Yes, we can. Okay, and as you see, if I'm not adding water, the color is quite thick and strong. What happens if I add water now? Exactly the same as in the previous one. Can dilute. Okay. So now I'm going to be using the acrylic inks, yeah, like this one or like that one, yeah. The acrylic inks, when you use it, as it has acrylic on it, you won't be able to blend it or to dilute it with water once it is dry, yeah. It dries quite fast. You can mix it with normal acrylic paint. I'm going to do that later, so let's see how it is, how it looks like. So it looks like a normal ink, like a normal Chinese ink, yeah. I'm going to try to mix two colors, so that yellow, a bit of green, like that. It's still wet, yeah. And there you go, have a look at that. Lovely color. That's that green. We will have to pay attention at the end just to see how they look like once they are dry, yeah, because probably it's going to change and we can compare these three. I'm going to do another one here using a different color and I'm going to let it dry. Then once it is dry, I'll add some water and I'll try to blend them as we did here. But I think what is going to happen is, as it is going to be dry, it's not going to happen. It's not going to let me to blend it, to mix them, okay? Something like that. What happens here if we mix the acrylic ink with acrylic paint, yeah? So here you have the acrylic ink, the yellow, and the white, yeah, acrylic paint. So it's going to get the thicknesses of the acrylic all that body, yeah, it's going to be thicker. Meanwhile, the inks, it's more they are more transparent, and they let us to see the paper, yeah, the texture of the paper. If I mix acrylic paint with acrylic ink, what we're going to get is a thicker color, yeah, and what we see is the texture of the brush stroke and the paint, yeah, really nice. So now it's dry, these two colors in acrylic ink. Let's add some clean water on it, and you will see like nothing happens, yeah. We don't get any, we cannot blend them, we cannot mix them, yeah. It remains there. So the conclusion is like acrylic inks are more permanent, yeah. Once it dries, we can't mix it or blend it with any other color. The watercolor inks are more like the name says, watercolors. So adding water, we can get these kind of textures. Even when it is dry, we can still work on it. The Chinese inks are very similar to the watercolor inks, but probably they are more permanent than the watercolor inks, yeah. Also, they have more body on it. If we compare, it has more pigment on it. Remember, you can use like a wash of watercolor, dry and white, wet and dry, and then once it is dry, you can work with Chinese inks on top of that, yeah. So another technique is using a ball pen, as this one, yeah. I bought this one in Sainsbury. This is a non-waterproof pen, so that means that if we add water, we are going to get really nice textures and we can blend it, yeah. Something like that, randomly. So now before it dries, I'm going to add some clean water, yeah. Let's add it very quickly, and you will see like it's going to blend, yeah. As the ink is still wet, we can get really nice effects. So imagine if you mix this with normal ink, the effect might be very interesting. something like that. So what I want you is to practice with all these new techniques, yeah, using inks. And now I'm going to do like a short demonstration using 2 of them, yeah. So now I'm going to do a landscape. Try to, I don't know, just do something from my imagination. Feel free if you want to use any photo that you have at home, but I think this time I just want to enjoy. I'm going to practice with different colors, using different inks, and see what I get. Okay, so think about those lines are going to remain later, so they need to have a sense, yeah, a sense of why you put them there. So what I'm doing now, it looks like a cliff, or that's my intention. Okay, here we're going to have some shadows, as we normally do, some reflections. Yeah. So before it dries, I'm adding the water, and then I'll keep working with the rest. Yeah. I'm going to use a thin brush with it like this, just to control it a bit more. But do you see what happens? Wow, it's just magic. If you think like something is too dark, just with a tissue, boop, dry it a bit, as we do in watercolors. Yeah, something like that. I'm not going to do the water because I'll do the water later, all of it as one thing, yeah? Because if I start now here, probably if I do something else here, it's going to look different and I don't want that. So I'll just wait, yeah? Same time, this part is going to dry, and then later I will come back with some probably Chinese or watercolor inks on over it, yeah? Just to give some color effects, yeah? Come here. Okay. So what we have to do now is create different volumes, yeah? So think about shapes, geometrical forms, and shadows in between them. Different directions, but with a sense, yeah? So I'm not going to do this, I'm just creating, like drawing, creating, giving that effect of rocks. Where you put more ink, it's going to be darker later, yeah? Maybe we can add like a small tree here. Okay. Relax your hand. Free movement. Try to relax it. Don't worry about the shapes. It has very uncontrolled, yeah? So as you see, underneath or under the branches is darker. Okay. The light comes from the top, yeah? It comes from here. Just doodling. So the top of the rocks are lighter, and then behind or underneath we have some concave areas where the shadow is. Gosh, my English. I think you are so patient with me. Sometimes I think, I don't know how they can understand me. I'm going to do another tree here. we add elements as trees, we give some scale to the painting or to the drawing, yeah. So it helps us to see the scale of the things, the size. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you feel tired of it, just have a break. Don't do things just because you have to finish it and complete it. Yeah, no, just rest and come back later and keep working the same way. I need to finish this before the ink dries. So I'm not going to add water until it is finished. So here are, like, for me it's like rocks, but very flat. Remember, the pen has to be non-waterproof, yeah? Okay, something like this, yeah? Yep. Let's add the water. Doesn't really matter if you go out from the outlines, that's fine. Try to leave some spaces, some white, yeah, some blank spaces, sorry. Didn't have to paint all of it. Okay, so the tree, Not going to paint all of it, just leaving some blank areas, some spaces in between the branches, and later I will come with color. Okay, and then here we have these flat rocks. So I'm starting with the darkest area, and then I'm bringing some of that dark color onto the light area. Something like that. Yeah. Okay. So now let's start with the water. The waves are bigger. At the same time, it's getting closer to us. I'm starting to do more diagonal lines. You know this. And here what we have is just all the shadows, reflections, yeah. Okay. Kind of. And then the sky. I'm going to do some clouds. Just some effects as clouds, really. Yeah. So I'm going to add the water. I'm going to add some water in the sea. Yeah. Follow the lines. Horizontal lines, yeah. Okay. And in the sky, I'm going to add water, but not everywhere, just in some places where the clouds are, just to give that impression of clouds. If you think like it's too wet or too dark, just dry it a bit with a paper, with a tissue. Okay. That's it. So now you are in that point where you have to decide if you want to leave it as it is in black and white, or if you want to add some colors. As you know, I like to experiment because there's nothing wrong with it. If I don't try it, I don't know how it's going to look like. So I don't mind to spoil it, yeah? That's why I'm here, to spoil things and learn from it. So let's add some colors. If you don't have any inks in colors, you can try with watercolors, yeah? Just let it dry and then just add some washes of watercolor on top of it. So I'm going to start with the water. I'm going to use this watercolor ink, which is the ultramarine blue or dark blue, yeah, this color. I'm going to use the ink as it comes from the recipient, and I'm not going to paint all of it, just to do some lines effects. You will see, like, once it dries, the color it's going to change. Probably it's going to get more transparent. Something else that we can do is, at the end, once you've finished, add some spots with acrylic or gouache, just to emphasize a bit more the colors and the brightness. Think about the depth. So these lines are getting smaller, at the same time they get further. So you see the inks are very powerful, yeah? In compare the watercolors. So they work in the same way. We use washes, but the inks are stronger and brighter than watercolors. Something like that, yes. Okay. For the sky, I'm going to leave it as it is, just to create that contrast with the water. So I'm going to continue with the rocks. With the rocks, using a dark brown. I'm using the same kind of brush stroke as I was doing with the ball pen. So I'm not coloring, I'm just doing lines really. As I said, if we lose the shape or painting really, we can always fix it. Yeah, we can add some acrylics or gouache later and bring it back. Oops, the tree. I think I'm going to destroy it. No tree. Bye, tree. It was too late. I don't really like it. The shape didn't work. So, bye. As I said, if you don't have inks, try to do this with watercolors. Yeah. So you see, I'm not really finishing the shapes. I like these kind of textures. Yeah. So something like this. Okay. Let's add some green. And for the green, I'm going to use Chinese cream. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, so I'm going to mix these two colors, yeah, to get like that sap green that we got before. and white acrylic. So here we have the ink. I'm adding a bit of acrylic. Let's mix it. As you see, it has a lot more body. It is thicker. But what I want to is to get a solid layer in the tree. Yeah, I don't want to lose it. So something like that. Yep. Great. Let's emphasize this a bit more. So I'm going to use the same white acrylic, but this time I'm not going to mix it with anything, just as it is. I'm going to emphasize a bit more the water and some brights in the rocks, and that's all.